Alright, this is my pocket hole machine. This is a machine made by a company called Castle. Alright, what it does, kind of like my Ritter horizontal bore machine, it has a foot pedal. Alright, now this foot pedal works a little bit different than the one on the Ritter. And what I mean by that, there's actually a kind of a safety built into it. The machine isn't on yet, but it's going to be so loud when I turn it on, you won't hear me talking, so I'm going to explain this before I turn it on. But what happens, here against the stop, there's a couple of buttons here that retract when you put your workpiece in here. You have to press it in. Alright, if I step on this foot pedal, nothing's going to happen unless that thing is also pushed in at the same time. It's a safety to make sure you don't have a hand down here and you accidentally, not seeing where your feet are, you accidentally press the button, and that could be a real bad disaster, alright? So, okay, so what happens when I press this button and that thing is retracted, there's two things that happen. First, a router bit comes up. It's a 3/8 roughing bit. It's a compression carbide, solid carbide cutting bit. What happens, it comes up and it cuts a slot into the bottom of the workpiece. As it's being retracted down, in the same motion, there's a drill bit, which is roughly 1/8 of an inch in diameter, maybe a little smaller. That's coming forward and it's drilling a hole in the end of this workpiece into that routed slot. Okay. Now you see, I'm not using any center lines or anything like that because it's not critical. As long as I'm somewhere, I want it on a wider piece. I'll put 3, 4, maybe 5 holes depending on how big it is. But yeah, basically that's what I'm doing. This is how I put my frames together on this particular job. Some frames I use mortise and tenon. Some I use bridle joints. Some of them I use dowels. But this particular job, I'm doing the pocket holes. Alright, we're getting ready to pocket screw these frames together, and if you're hearing something going on, it's hot out. It's about 90 degrees out. It is nighttime. I'm working at night right now. It's a little bit cooler. It's actually 4 o'clock in the morning. Don't even ask. Don't even go there, right? But at any rate, I got a floor fan over here. There's another one up there. There's a gable fan running, so if you hear noises and you can't hear me too well talking, that's because of all the fans running. It's real critical that you make sure you line up your frame parts perfectly. Alright, what I mean is the top of the rail should be perfectly flush with the top of the stile. If you start going up and down a little bit, slightly off and on, what it does, it'll cause the frame to go out of square. And we don't want an out of square frame. especially on a job like this where I've got inset doors and drawer faces. What that does is it causes all kinds of grief when you go to fit your drawers, your drawer faces and your doors. My slider, when I cut up my doors, my completed doors after they're roughed out, whether they're plywood or solid wood or whatever, my slider cuts them perfectly square. Well, if my openings and my frames are not perfectly square, then I have to sit there playing around with them, sanding, cutting things at an angle and all. So that's why it's important to make sure when you're putting a frame together, it's one of the most critical steps in building a cabinet. Kind of like when you're building a house, the mason lays out the foundation for the house. If you've got a good mason, things are going to go real easy for everybody that follows. But if you got a sloppy mason and he's got things out of square and all, then you're going to have problems with the entire house all the way up. Same as a relationship, right? If the foundation of a relationship is solid, then your relationship will be solid. It's important to wipe off any excess glue now, because I'm going to run these frames through my wide belt sander, and that glue gums up my wide belts. And those wide belts are average about $80 to $90 a piece. Okay, I've got 60 and 9/16 light. I've got 60 and 9/16 light. So I've got a frame that is perfectly square here. And I'll just check my center down here. That looks beautiful, alright? There you go. That's going to make life easy. Okay, so this is, what these are going to sit on top of the countertop. In a Bath Cabinetry. These are going to sit on top. There's a small drawer here. There's a door here. And there's just going to be some adjustable shelves, and they'll put whatever in there. I don't know, folded towels. I don't know what they would. Me, at my house, I got one little drawer, and I got everything I need in my drawer. My wife's got the other 11 drawers. We have 12 drawers in our 9-foot vanity. I got one drawer, my wife's got 11. And our upper cabinets, I do have one of the smaller upper cabinets, and I don't know, I keep my toothpaste in there. I have one of those electric toothbrushes, a couple things like that, but we have a separate linen closet. So, but these are a little bigger than the ones that I've got my own, so I don't know what they're going to put in. All I know is I'm putting adjustable shelves in. I am using 1.5-inch pocket screws. And they're fine thread because this is a hardwood. You can get these with coarse thread or fine thread. The coarse thread I use on plywood, which you're going to be using when we go to assemble this box. You can see that this has got a bit of a bow to it. You see that bow? Round? which is not critical because it's going to be clamped to a plywood box. So that will straighten it out. And these screws are sinking into the wood very nicely. Really, that's why I like the 1.5 inches rather than 1.25 inches. They really pull in there nice and tight. .60 9/16 light. 60 9/16 light. Okay, so we've got two perfectly square frames. There we go. We got a left and a right. This is what I meant by having a pair. All right. These are against the two walls. They're spread about 8 foot apart. And there's double sinks on the vanity, and there's mirrors in between. Okay, so I'm ready to go through the wide belt.